Hi guys, welcome to another edition on the Niger Business TV. I'm happy to have the 41st Miss Nigeria. I'm happy to have Mildred. We're going to be going through some combos around several things. I hope she's prepared for me. So great to have you finally, Mildred. And
Thank you very much.
She's gorgeous.
Thank you very much.
And by the way, I don't like to stay very close to her because she's taller. She's intimidating.
I told him it's the shoes.
Yeah, but I'm not sure about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't like standing very close to you. It's beautiful. Good to have you. Thanks for coming through eventually, right?
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's my pleasure.
So just a quick intro about who you are and what you do. Yeah.
Okay, my name is Mildred Ehiguese. I'm the 41st Miss Nigeria and also a psychologist. So I studied psychology at Redeemers University before I became Miss Nigeria. And while I was Miss Nigeria, I started a foundation for children living with mental illnesses and children who have been incested. So basically, while I was doing my IT at Arrow, Abeokuta, you know Arrow, right? Yeah. So while I was doing my IT at Arrow, I discovered that children were abandoned at the pediatric section of the mental institutions. And the reason is because either the parents didn't know what it was, that's the mental or developmental disorder, or they couldn't just afford the treatment. And so I decided to create awareness and let people know that a developmental disorder or mental disorder in kids doesn't necessarily mean that the child is possessed or there's a demon in the child. So because it's an African community, you get people who say that, okay, it's one demon from the village who has manifested through the child, blah, blah, blah. And then even when you try to explain to them medically, they abandon the child there or they can't afford it. For instance, at Arrow, we saw a child who had epileptic episodes and also a developmental disorder. And then since the mother dropped the child there, nobody ever came back. So these are the things that got to me, and I decided to start a foundation for the awareness and also helping to raise funds for people who can afford it.
Wow, that's interesting. But we're still going to talk about that, by the way, because it's a very critical topic, I think, that we need to really address at some point, right? But first off, I just want us to take us through a journey pre-being Miss Nigeria. What was it all about? Then we're going to talk about when you were and what the experience was like, and now that you're how the things that you're doing. So that's how we'll structure it. But first, what's up before Miss Nigeria?
Okay, before Miss Nigeria, like I said, I studied psychology at Redeemers University. I served at UCH Ibadan. So I'd already followed all my processes. And then, so while I was serving, someone told me to try out Miss Nigeria. At first, I was quite reluctant, but I went ahead to read about what the Miss Nigeria organization was about and what they did.
So why did they think you should? Your height, your beauty, what was really the trigger?
Okay, so I think the trigger was Miss Nigeria was coming up, and my mom is from Adamawa State, so I grew up in Adamawa State, and there was no representative for Adamawa State.
Wow, in the whole of that state. Imagine.
Most Northerners are quite reserved, so not a lot of them would like to come out for pageants. And so someone was like, I should represent Adamawa State. In my head, I was like, no, it's just my mom that is Adamawa and I grew up there. I'm not sure. I think they actually want people who are indigenes of the state. And they're like, no, that if I could try, they are sure they would take me because I'm the only one that would even come from there. I'm like, okay. And so I went ahead to try. So prior to the cast, I had called in and asked them what I needed. And they were like, come in your comfortable shoes, no makeup, jean and t-shirt. I'm like, oh, fine, I could do that. Only for me to get there. And Jesus is Lord. So basically, everybody there looked stunning. Nobody was without makeup and all those things. Everybody was on fleek, makeup on fleek, hair on fleek, everything. And then I was so embarrassed. I felt so bad. And then it began to even get to me that I was just sitting in one corner. To the extent that some people were even asking me, are you a volunteer? Are you working for them? What's going on? I'm like, no, I'm actually here to cast as well. And so at some point I had to now give myself the pep talk and like, oh no, Mildred, for you to be here is because you have something. And so when I went in for the cast and came out, I was actually all right. And so when they were doing the callback, they had said they were going to call at 12 noon on a certain day. And so I was waiting, and 12 came. 1 came, I'm like, oh my God. And I was slept off, I forgot.
Wow.
So when I woke up, I was like, it was already like 3 p.m. And I'm like, oh, let me just go on Instagram and see who they picked anyway. So while I was just scrolling through Instagram, I got my call back.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I was just feeling, I was screaming so much that I didn't even hear what they said. And so after the call, much later, I had to now go to the website and start checking what they actually said. And also that's how it was for me before Miss Nigeria.
That's interesting. So you were not really on that part. Have you ever done something like that before?
No,
I
had never done pageantry. Okay, the closest thing I'll say I had done was during like skill acquisition in youth service.
Yeah.
So I was the one that was modeling for all the makeup artists.
Wow.
I think that's and photographers, of course. I think that's the closest I had come to modeling. I never really took it professionally or anything.
And I would assume that some of the people that came have been through something like that.
Oh, definitely. We had people who were like 2-time queens. They had been queens in their state and stuff.
Yeah.
I had never done, but I did like you needed to see me.
So what is strategy
I had
for
nothing.
an underdog? You know, somebody coming into a place for the first time. Maybe you had a strategy. Maybe that can help in business. I don't know.
Oh.
How were you able to move from, you know, a newbie, quote unquote, right, and moving to not only, you know, get maybe if you were a second runner-up and everything, you know, that you won. So how did you come about that?
Okay, first of all, I'm going to definitely say it was God, because I really did not know what I was doing at first. It's just like someone who is starting a new business.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't know what you're doing. A new entrepreneur, for instance. At first, I really did not even know what I was doing. I didn't know how to even stand. So there's a certain way you're supposed to stand with your leg in front and stuff like that. I didn't have an idea. And so when I realized I didn't know those things, I had to go and start reading up.
Yeah.
I watched YouTube videos on how to, and then I didn't even know that pageantry had a different walk from modeling. And so when I discovered, I'm like, oh, really? So basically all I did was depend on God, and then exactly, and start doing a little research here and there with the with what I could lay my hands on. So basically, of course, it was impromptu, so I couldn't have gone to say I want to get a coach to coach me or a mentor. So I just went online and watched some videos, read on Miss Nigeria, read basically everything I could lay my hands on, and then I began to practice it. So even when we got back to the when we went to the boot camp, I was basically I think what even helped me the most was because I was more of learning than competing.
Wow, that's a major word, right?
Because I really didn't, in my head, I'm like, okay, so I have an idea what's going on, so I can't even be competing. So I was always very different from what the normal girl would do in the boot camp. And so it seemed like I wasn't even, it seemed like I was just relaxed. But basically, I was just observing, trying to get my things together, you understand?
Yeah, maybe the psychology thing coming through, like...
I know, right? A lot of people say that, but it wasn't conscious at all. If it ever came through, it wasn't conscious at all. So basically, I was observing people, I was learning, and then I was totally dependent on God. It was so bad that I didn't even have a pageant dress. I didn't even know I was supposed to have a pageant dress. So when I got there, Miss Nigeria organization came through. So they got us, some of us who didn't have pageant dresses, they got us our pageant dresses ready. And so that was how I pulled through. Now fast forward to the grand finale.
Yeah, I really want to know what that
Tell me about that.
I can almost imagine the screen, you know, I don't know. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so the grand finale. So I'm Adamawa, so I knew I was the second person to go out. My body was shaky, I was sweaty, and I'm like, okay, thank God at least the cultural attire was the first we were supposed to walk with. I was like, thank God, well, I'm going to be going barefooted because I'm sure if I was wearing heels, man, my legs are going to be shaky and all over the place. And so the first time I walked out, you know the scene in movies where someone comes on stage and like they can't hear anything, everything is blurred, their heart is beating. I had that whole episode basically. And so I had to like take quick breaths and calm down and smile. And so when I got like halfway the runway, I'm like, oh, it's just a walk, it's just a walk. And so I relaxed and then I got into character and everything just went
So you were more like your self-coach all through the journey.
all through.
Yeah, makes sense.
Honestly. And then so when it was question and answer time, I was so shaky and scared and everything. But then you manage to kind of find a balance and just remain calm and everything. So while they were calling the top 10, I think they had gotten to number 7, 8, and I wasn't called yet. And so I was like, oh Lord, please God, please God, please. And then they called me at number 9. And so that's how I made it to top 10.
Wow.
And then I won.
From 36, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, actually from 42.
Wow.
So at boot camp,
Scaled.
they kept evicting people at boot camp till 36 and then till top 10.
Yeah, so what happened at last 10 when your name was called, right?
So when my name was called, I think, you know, when I watched the video online, it feels like it didn't take so long for me to actually smile and stuff. But in my head, everything was happening so fast that in my head, it took me like 30 minutes to actually come to realization and stuff. So I guess everything was just happening in slow motion for me at that moment.
Almost like it was happening to you, not like in the context that you were really involved, you know.
Exactly. And so I know that I was crying, but in my head I'm like, don't cry, girl, you're strong, no crying, no tears. But then I ended up crying that all my pictures had me having a crying face, so I didn't even get any smiley pictures until like much after the event and stuff. But it was a wonderful moment. I don't think I can ever forget it.
Yeah, of course. I don't think you should. At all. So basically now, fast forward, post, and I want us to now talk about the things that you do now. The businesses that you do, because you are a business guru. I call you Rugu. So they said if you are more than a guru, it's inverse. You become a Rugu. That's the joke. But again now, so just tell us about the things that you're involved with now. Then we'll still come back to the NGO stuff. But I'm really very particular now about the businesses that you started after. And how has it been?
Okay, so basically after Miss Nigeria, I decided to start 2 businesses and one on the way.
Yeah.
So I started.
You're a mogul, right?
I started an online fashion store where basically it's like a boutique, but it's virtual. Yeah. So you could shop online and it'll be delivered to you anywhere. And we sell different brands, and I decided to make it very
affordable. What was it called? So that people might want to patronize.
Poem Luxury Style. I know, right?
For free.
So it's called Poem Luxury and Style. Poem, like saying a poem.
Okay.
Yes. Luxury and Style. And then I also started a spice line. And it's called Mimil Organics. So basically, we produce cooking spices. That's curry, pepper, basic spices.
So that's what you use for those soups that you used to post. Where's it coming back to the soup? You want to explain yourself. That is a good housewife material, I think.
Amen.
Be a busy executive. The kind of soup she cooks. Well, I've not tasted it, but it looks good.
Yes.
On the post.
And it tastes good too. Annoying. Let me add that.
Very annoying. One day I'm going to send somebody to pour salt and you won't know.
No.
Come on, you even post it and
and I even post what people say about it.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's almost like you're wicked. Right? Then you post it. Then after you are done eating the food by yourself, then you start posting the post-food event. Like listening to one interesting song like you posted last week, it's good. Like you are such a happy fellow. Now, the other business.
Yes. So the reason I started the spice company was because every woman basically has a certain way they cook. There's no basic way. Well, there's a basic way. Everybody has their own style of cooking, and some women are more tilted to spices, and sometimes you want to get a particular spice because you've seen it in a recipe somewhere, and then the spice is so expensive and you wonder why it's as expensive as that when you're just getting a small cup. So I decided to start a spice line, also because I love cooking, so I know the pain it takes me to find some particular spices. And so I started the spice line, and also coconut oil, because sometimes we like to eat really nice things, but we have unhealthy oils here and there, and then we can't seem to get which one is right and which isn't. So I decided to start the spice line.
So how's business been? Of course, obviously, I presume it's good, right?
Yes, it's
so
going well, we thank God.
Challenges?
Yeah, so at first, I think the challenge I had was where to get my raw materials from. So because I stay in the north, we have access to a lot of spice. Now transporting those spice raw materials or ready-made spice down was a problem for me, and then now trying to make them and seeing the right quantity that will fit the right price. So those systems, I had to have my own research, find out where I could get the containers, the branding, the packaging. I wanted it to look a certain way, taste a certain way, and things like that. So those were the basic challenges I had at first. And also now, when you're done, how to get it into the market and getting people to trust it. That's another challenge that we're working on right now.
Yeah, but so far I presume so good, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So based on that kind of experience, what are the candid advice that you can give to entrepreneurs that are millennials like us, right? You know, go into business, just random.
So the basic thing I would tell you first of all is start it. I think most of us, the problem we have is we have so many great ideas, but we are waiting for one very big capital to start. And then we end up not starting anything for 5 years, 10 years, and we just have the ideas lying in our books. So the basic, the first idea I will tell you is start it. Now, while you're starting it, you also need to know your markets, you need to know your target, you need to be able to know your basic organizational things that you want to set in place before you start. And if you're starting as well, you need to be sure, you need to be able to prepare yourself for possible outcomes. You don't want to start and then be shocked when people are not buying. Of course, there are possible outcomes. People would have gotten it, people wouldn't have. So you need to be prepared for possible outcomes. And also, I don't think any entrepreneur will tell you that it is easy at first. It is so not easy. So you need to understand that it takes time to build.
I can tell.
So you need to understand that it takes time to build. It takes a lot of time to build. You can't be wanting to achieve something that takes 10 years to achieve in 1 year. I take a lot of faith for you to do that. It's possible for you to achieve it in less than 10 years. But honestly, it takes time to build things that withstand time.
So it's so interesting for me talking about this patience as a virtue for, that's not really not a topic we discuss in our generation.
At all. Our generation.
Old school now because everybody want to do a startup.
That is going to bring money immediately.
Like Facebook, and all of that, but it doesn't.
But even Facebook didn't start and make money immediately. Facebook took time.
Yeah, but
it didn't take as much time.
We abbreviate the timelines.
Exactly.
Even in our experience, that when you read it and you're energized and you don't even know that there are in-betweens, right? That cannot even be recorded.
Yes. So I think even me, myself, it took me time to understand that things take time.
Yeah.
You understand? Because in our generation, I think basically because everything is fast, the internet is fast, you get everything fast, you forget to understand that you are not an internet page. You're a human being and you need to follow process sometimes.
So how's your pedigree as Miss Nigeria? That's for the first Miss Nigeria. Has it helped you in building your business brand? That's your personal brand?
Yes, so we're working on advertisement right now, and basically since I've been able to build, with the help of Miss Nigeria organization of course, been able to build a strong social media presence, would leverage on that. So basically, I am the first ambassador of my brand.
Yeah, definitely.
And now, because I am the first ambassador of my brand, the Miss Nigeria organization always supports all their Miss Nigerias, all the people who have been Miss Nigeria and future Miss Nigeria, even the runner-ups as well.
Yeah.
So by the time I'm done setting this up, I could leverage on their platform as well to be able to build and make it reach the kind of level we want it to achieve.
Okay, makes a lot of sense. So now, before the final question, right, which is so okay, I won't talk about the soup thing. People have still been feeling, right? So again,
don't worry. One day I'll surprise everybody.
Really? So she's making a promise for all the millennials watching this, right? So you put us on timetable every week. Because again, I'm curious how you're able to keep into shape
and eat so much good food, that, right?
You know, I don't know, but again, it's crazy, man. So, talking about how are you now balancing your social work with, you know, the business, you know, knowing full well that your resources are not unlimited, right?
Yeah.
Unlimited. So how are you able to juggle that? So this for entrepreneurs out there that have some social. I'm a capitalist, so yeah, I like to support bosses, right? But die hard capitalist, right? So, but for guys like you, I envy you, right? You know, doing social, you know, enterprise with business. How are you doing it?
Okay. First of all, I would say for managing your social and your business aspects, sometimes it's good for you to create a budget, because many times you would feel like, okay, there's this thing that would help my social media, will help my personal brand, but I don't have the funds to afford it now because most of the funds have been directed to business, and you're very tempted to take your funds from business and put them in social. So you need to have a budget. Say, this fund, no matter what happens, is not living here. This is what it's for. Even if it is miscellaneous, even if it's just being there, let it be there, because emergencies can come up. And then you know that there's a certain fund you've already put up for socials as well. So have a budget and also have a scale of preference. So after making your budget, have a scale of preference so that whatever happens, you're doing the important things first and not the things you want.
Makes a lot of
so
sense.
Have your
So
scale
it's
of
all
preference
about
and a budget.
prioritizing an allotment of resources.
Yes.
So 10 years from now, what's going to happen? Or should we say 5 years? 10 years. 10 years is cool. I'm thinking in my head, maybe the richest man in Nigeria.
Yes.
Because the way you are going, you know, off camera, you told me about you're putting cars and how you want to build, you know, some of these things. That makes a lot of sense to me for a young person, like that kind of aspiration and how you're just doing so many things, you know, will be very, very impressive.
Thank you very much.
10 years.
In 10 years, well, by the grace of God, like you said, one of the richest women in Africa. And then in 10 years, I would also have a mentoring school and etiquette school. So I noticed that because of how fast we are living in the fast lane, we forget our etiquette, we forget the things we're supposed to do, especially as ladies. So in 10 years, there's going to be a mentoring, coaching, etiquette school. Could call it a pageant school as well. In 10 years, many more businesses to come, success, some kids here and there, and a husband.
So well, so I want to put you to it that in 10 years, we'll do this interview again. Of course, much larger space and everything. So I'm putting it to you that in 10 years, you must still maintain this stature. It's a challenge. So that's our own 10 years.
No.
So let's shake to it.
No, I'm not going to shake to that. Because in 10 years, I'm going to have a better structure than this.
Infrastructure, more like it. You know?
Yes.
So you are not shaking to that.
I'm shaking to it.
No, yeah, to the same stature. So we're going to, you know, check how you weigh now. What's your kg, right?
You can't compare a single girl's weight to a mother.
We'll give you 5 kg extra.
Come on.
No, but again, there's a reward to that. So I'm starting my own business, right? So I'll give you $1 million, right?
In 10 years.
Yeah, so that's a worthwhile goal to work for.
Oh, really? I will hold you to that.
I'm getting. So what I'm trying to do is that I'm getting you to a clever way of not eating most of those things that you eat. So you won't cook it and you won't post it and terrorize us, right?
Oh, I will cook it and post it and not eat it.
Well, time and chance will reflect if you're actually eating it.
No, we're good. We're good. God has blessed us with good stature. So
yeah. So basically, that's. I think you have a lot of things going well. It's great to have people like you, such an inspiration. So last word to the viewers. Mostly millennials or entrepreneurs, and some of them are business professionals. What are the basic ingredients? What will you advise them going forward?
Okay, I think what I would advise is first, put God first, no matter what, because at the end of the day, whatever happens, you need to be sure that your core is strong enough to carry you. And in this day and age, there are a lot of disappointments everywhere. So you don't want to put your trust or faith in something that can't stand time. So that's the first advice. Put God first in everything you do. Secondly, be determined, and also don't let another person's thought of where you should be or what you should be doing affect your own reality. For instance, let me give an example. For instance, maybe people think, oh, at your age, you're supposed to be in so place. Don't rush it. Take it one step at a time. Everybody is in a different class of God's school. You need to understand that, because we get rushed sometimes. We end up doing things we're not proud of. So take your time. Honestly, don't be rushed at all. Don't let anybody put pressure on you. Take your time. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your life. Don't be so caught up in trying to, and the food. Don't be so caught up in trying to please everybody that you don't have a life anymore. Enjoy your life, please, and take your time to build. So yeah, I think that's all I would say.
Yeah, so that's it on Nigeria Business TV. Mildred, thanks for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
Looking forward to more collaborations. Yeah, let me drop it here. So you featured my next film, right? So we're going to do a lot.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, we're going to do a lot of great stuff together. Good to have such an inspiration coming through on the Nigeria Business TV. So guys, if you have questions, comments, inquiries, holla, talk to us. So we'll see you next time. Keep doing it, keep executing, keep achieving, keep succeeding. Thanks, it's Dami and I'm out.
Hi there, my name is Mildred Ehiguese and I'm the 41st Miss Nigeria. You're watching Nigeria Business TV. Don't stop.